At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 300 programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Legends of British rock Def Leppard are set to take over the grandstand at the Minnesota State Fair. Don't miss out on their countless hits when they take the stage on August 26th. Tickets go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. Get all the details now at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
Def Leppard's the band where the drummer got his arm torn off, right? Like in a car accident. How does he drum with one arm? I am still astonished by it. Maybe I should go see him. What's the name of the place again? State Fair Grandstand? At the Minnesota State Fair this upcoming year. My guess is we'll get to hear a little bit of them during sound check. They often do that during the middle of the grum. Time now for 534.
Time now for 5 questions. Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Question number 1.
It's now time to take an in-depth look at the welfare of the wolves.
The Wolves lost to a Milwaukee Bucks team without Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard 103-101 last night at Target Center. Anthony Edwards shot just 10 of 33 from the field, including the final 3 shots he missed. The Wolves shot just 38% from the field, 23% from 3. Common, how disappointing was last night's loss to Milwaukee?
I guess you could say the Wolves were missing 2 of their players. They were missing Julius Randle and Bogdanovich. No.
DiVincenzo. Not the same caliber of players, but
I was going to mention that, and I guess it is worth mentioning. It is disappointing, and he ain't going to win them all, but that was another one where I think Gobert, his quote after the game, I think it was Rudy, said something about those are the ones you look back on. That was, there's 4, 5, 8 plays there that game goes the other direction. I'm sure Milwaukee could say the same thing. The other thing that was pointed out in the piece is that, if you go from like the 5th to the 6th seed or even 6 to 7, you look back at games like that, there's going to be a handful of games you go, should have won that game. And look, he's really good, but he's not super Ant, right? It's not like every game he's going to score 40 plus. He had 3 games in a row where he scored over 40 points. What did he have last night? Did you say 33? Thing is
no, he was 10 for 33.
10 for 33.
He shot, I think, maybe 28 points.
So 28 points, but it took him forever to get there. We have to shoot that often. And
yeah, that's just a volume 28 points. That's not.
And I guess, when the rest of the team, again, isn't shooting very well, what are you going to do? You almost feel like, well, I got to keep shooting. Though, like you say, that's volume shooting, so the percentage isn't really good. Any more comparisons between Dillingham and Allen Iverson after last night's game? Wasn't much of an Allen Iverson performance there. So, yeah, we've discussed this not just this year, but every year. Especially I shouldn't say every year because it doesn't happen often with the Wolves. The last 2 years have been really good. They were destined for postseason play. How good can they be and how deep they can go? I think it would take a major collapse, almost Twins like last year, or just more key injuries for the team not to make postseason. It just depends where do they get seeded, and then even if you get a 6 or a 5, it's still a long way. You got the quarters, the semis, the conference finals. It's hard to get through. You got to get through a lot of really good teams, and just the way the Wolves are made up right now. You talk about defense, man. Some of these other teams, like, who they play tonight? That's a defensive unit. That's the way Oklahoma City plays defense is the way the Wolves play defense last couple of years. And I think they're going to have their hands full again tonight. Could they win? Sure, but I'm
3 of 4 against Oklahoma City.
My guess is they're going to be in some deep trouble. So I'm not real. I'm just telling you, we talked about it at the beginning of the year. I know the reason they traded Bodega Cat. It was a blunder as far as on court. Bodega Cat last night had a terrible inbounds pass almost blew the game. They had to win in overtime to beat the Hawks. Of course, I can excuse him when he has 44 points and 12 boards. You can kind of let that, but he almost threw the game away, or 10 boards, whatever he had. But he's having a spectacular season, and it'd be nice to have him on the club right now, but we don't, so you just keep moving on.
Question number 2. And now it's time to go. In the paint.
Brian Windhorst of ESPN's Get Up yesterday talked about Sun star Kevin Durant. Windhorst said, quote, "He's probably going to get traded this summer. He knows it. The Suns know it. The rest of the league knows it. They're going to enjoy him while they have him. It's not really controversial in all honesty. They're under 500. They have a $230 million payroll, then add over $100 million tax on top of that. I would expect Durant and the Suns this summer to work together to find a new home." I should mention, Common, there were reports at the trade deadline that the Timberwolves had checked in on Durant. So my question for you, Common, will Kevin Durant be a Timberwolf this summer?
If we were having money problems last year, and that's why we had to get rid of Bodega Cat, I don't know what Durant's salary situation is. My guess is gargantuan.
Yeah.
It's a Durantula salary is gargantula. That wasn't very funny. That's sort of like the roses are red, violets, and blue bit. What I've read is Ant loves Durantula, right? Like,
yes.
This is kind of his hero. And they played on the Olympics together, so it's a good vibe. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. Again, though, what I don't know.
He's up there in age.
I was going to say, I don't know how much he's got left. He is, but some of these, even an older Durantula can be a lot better than younger, okay players. So I wouldn't be totally opposed to it. But, once I'm still not convinced, I have to see it first. Everybody, I think most people are really excited about Glenn Taylor being put out to pasture and Laurie and A-Rod taking over. Because if you remember, one of the concerns was, well, will Laurie and A-Rod spend the kind of money? Are they worried about the apron and the salary cap and this, that, and the other thing? And that quote is still there. It was in the paper again the other day where Laurie said, "I'm flush with cash." Are they really that? Are they the kind that are going to say, they got, is it the Bloomberg guy? Is it the former mayor of New York? He's worth over $100 million. And apparently he's one of their financial backers now. So maybe they've got plenty of money and they'll spend money. I hope they do, because you got to push that. You got to be at the top of the salary cap or even go beyond, I think, if you really want to contend. But we'll see what happens. So I don't know if they're going to be interested. If it's just too much money, I don't know.
Question number 3.
All Vikings must win this game. You'll hear us yell for more.
It's now time to take an in-depth look at the state of the Skull.
Mark Craig had a column in the Star Tribune today imploring NFL Hall of Fame selectors to give former Vikings defensive tackle Kevin Williams a look. Common, do you think Kevin Williams should be in the Hall of Fame?
I've been paying as close attention to Kevin Williams in retirement as I did while he played. Great player. I'll leave that to others. You know how I feel about Halls of Fames anyways. I think they're overloaded. Didn't the Hall this year, wasn't it the fewest amount of players they've let into the Hall in a number of years? Because it was just 4, wasn't it? It was Jared Allen and then 3 others. And
It's probably better. Usually they let in too many.
well, that's it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
So then if they're going to kind of trend that direction, I don't know if Williams makes it or not. I have nothing against him. He had
He's not even really getting a look.
Yeah, he's not
even close.
He's had some terrific seasons here. I just don't know if he's Hall of Fame worthy. What do you think?
Well, when he was here, I thought he was a really good player. But I don't know. I think it's just the position he plays, right? Like, there are certain positions like quarterback and wide receiver and edge rusher that they flash and you're going to notice them. So when it comes to Hall of Fame voting time, like, voters they just know those names more. And defensive tackle, I'm guessing compared to other positions, there's not too many defensive tackles in the Hall of Fame. That's just a guess on my part. So he plays, kind of a boring position. And as I've also said before, he has a boring name, plays a boring position, and wasn't really a self-promoter, right? Like, he wasn't out there making interesting comments that's going to get it. Like, he wasn't attention-seeking. He just went out and did his job. So he probably is, and like I said, the way Mark Craig laid it out in the story today, I thought was a pretty darn good argument for Kevin Williams. But that being said, at the time, I thought he was a really good player, but I didn't think he was just this unbelievably dominating figure that was a no-brainer to be an HOF.
I used to have his jersey. Remember I told you the story? I actually participated in one of the KFAN Viking draft parties. It was at the old Winter Park. It was the year Jared Allen. We didn't have a draft pick. We didn't have an early round draft pick. We traded for Jared Allen. And I was out there getting crowd reaction, and they gave us jerseys to wear, and I got a Kevin Williams one. I don't have it anymore. I gave it away to somebody, but so yeah, if he really wants to be in there, I hope someday he gets nominated and gets the call to the Hall, but I'll leave that for the Mark Craigs of the world.
And that's it for today's edition of 5 Questions. Well, actually 3 questions, but 5 sounds like more than 4.
Keyword, Tenna, what do you got?
The fan wants to give you a shot to put a grand in your hand with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword grand at KFAN.com now for a shot at winning. That keyword is grand. Enter now at KFAN.com.
Trampled by turtles.
Grand in your hand is back on KFAN. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. That's every hour from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. To enter the keywords and learn more, head over to KFAN.com.
Red hot chili pepper.
I forgot to play the song that we came up with.
Do you want to do it now?
Yeah, you want to hear it?
Sure. This is a Valentine's Day song courtesy of AI.
They call it My Valentine Forever.
But I was driving in my car, and that came on the radio. How quick it
is red and sky so blue, with a heart that's just for you. Candlelight and chocolate sweet. Every time our eyes they meet, holding hands beneath the moon, humming our familiar tune.
This has never happened before.
Whispered secrets, soft embrace. Every heartbeat finds its place. You're my Valentine forever.
He works for Hallmark.
Together now and never sever. Through the highs and all the lows.
We should have played this before lunch.
With you, my love, my heart it glows.
Because I'm about to throw up.
Stars above. Boundless skies for boundless love. Thoughts of you bring endless cheer.
Now you could do the drumming on this with one arm. Jeff Leppard, yes. I can do this.
Every day feels like a dream. Endless love, our perfect theme. I love you more than words can say.
It's almost like a Michael Bolton kind of a tune. Is that the right guy? Would I see sound like a guy that would...
Sure. Sounds like a Michael Bublé.
Yeah, Bublé. That's the... Yeah. This sounds like a Michael Bublé song. Bublé.
piano solo.
We could do an AI song for this one. Could you please wish my friend Jason O a happy 33rd birthday? He listens every day. Would make his day. Happy birthday, Jason O. You don't have a phone. Okay. With you, my love. How much longer does it go on?
It's done here. 20 seconds.
It glows.
I'll say 2016 went to number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. That's a really nice song.
Definitely the adult contemporary charts.
I think so. I think it went.
I might just play that for my gal tomorrow.
Why don't you do that?
That's the gift
and
right
then
there.
Tell her you came up with that. But you would have to sing it yourself in that high falsetto that you do too. So I shouldn't admit this working at the All Sports station, but I was just skimming the various sports websites and I stumbled across this story by Pat Graham. He writes NBA for the Associated Press. Headline, fueled by grudge, Jamal Murray scores career-high 55 points in Nuggets win over Trailblazers. Associated Press, Dateline Denver. The only thing hotter than Jamal Murray's jumper on Wednesday might have been his temper. The Denver guard was still carrying a grudge against the Portland Trailblazers over being ejected for some trash talking on Monday. Facing them again 2 days later, Murray let his play do his chirping with a career-best 55 and a 132-121 win. Nuggets forward Zach Nagy said about the Trailblazers, they shouldn't have done that. When he's mad, there's no one in the world that can stop him. Murray conjured up visions of playoff Murray in Denver's last game before the All-Star break. He was difficult to guard when he helped lead the Nuggets to their first NBA championship in 2023. He was difficult to contain Wednesday, too, hitting one long-range shot after another on his way to a 30-point first half. When the Trailblazers changed their tactics in the second half, Murray adjusted too, and then he just attacked the rim. Finished 20 of 36 from the floor, including 7 3-pointers. Third most points in franchise's NBA history, trailing only David Thompson's 73-point game. How pissed off do you think David Thompson was? Hey, Murray seeing red and scores 55. David Thompson goes off for 73. Do you think somebody chirped at him, or did he just decide that was his night? Joker had 56-point effort on December 7th, a day that will live in infamy. In the NBA, or the ABA, Spencer Haywood had a 59-point game for the then Denver Rockets, April 15, 1970. Malone said he was ultra-aggressive, and tonight was his best game ever from a number standpoint. Here's what Murray said. It's just all competitive spirit. I came ready to play, especially just being used to the playoffs and playing the same team over and over, and they know your plays and things get chippy and you have to see them again. So I think I think just that kind of factor made me ready to go. I was truly prepared today. Then he thanked his team. Said they couldn't do it without him. But I feel like I'm bothered by this a little bit. I know a guy can't fire himself up every game to play like he did, right? Because it sounds like he was annoyed by the chippiness of the game. He got texts, he got tossed, he was bitter, and I'll show them, right? And then he comes out and he even says it himself. He says, so I think just that kind of factor made me ready to go. I was truly prepared today. And you'd like to think they're truly prepared every day like I am for the Grum. Truly prepared. Okay, that doesn't fit right. But that it took that to get that kind of a game out of him. It's sort of like we talked about with the Wolves. Was that about a week ago? 10 to be 2 weeks ago? Where at a film session, earlier in the day, prior to the game they played that night, I don't remember who the opponent was, Finch had to get after everybody. Matter of fact, you know what? He went to bed with violence on his mind. Remember, that was the quote? It's kids talk for being mad. So he went to bed with violence on his mind, got up with violence on the mind, and he lit into the team during film session. And then he had to get booted. I think he's only been booted once from a game, and that was that night. He got booted from the game, and then the team finally woke up and said, I guess coaches said, no, maybe we should play harder. It's sort of kind of the same thing that I guess Murray, and I know it's hard. I can't expect Murray now. Well, that would mean, what, should he get 55 every night? Should he get 65 the next time he plays? Should he get 75? I don't know, but it's just the idea that it takes that kind of motivation to get you to a place where you're performing at such a high level. Does that make sense what I'm saying? I don't know how else. It's a wonderful performance by Jermaine, and we know he has it in him. We've seen it. We've seen it firsthand when the Wolves played him in the postseason. Was that last year when we beat him 4-3? That was last year,
came back, yeah.
And Murray was brilliant during a couple of those games. He was almost single-handedly responsible for winning the games, if I remember correctly. But it takes that extra motivation, and that's the old don't poke the bear. Remember, who said that about Ant the other day? Ant was going through something similar. I don't know if it was, I don't remember what it was, but Ant, same thing. He went off, and they said, be careful. Be careful what that when you get under a guy's skin, if you pick the wrong guy, they can go off. But that's what he did. That's a hell of a performance. But it took being annoyed at them. Maybe they should just play maybe he should get technicals every night and get tossed out of games, and he's ready for the game the next. Najee is his name. Did I call him Najai? I'm not paying as close attention to former Minnesota high school basketball players. I think he played at Hopkins, Totino, Park Center. I don't remember. He played locally. I do know that. I know, as you mentioned yesterday, Tim, not a lot going on with the Wild right now because we're in that, what do we call it again?
Four Nations Face-Off for 2 weeks.
But what you got for Wild today?
Yeah, this is Wild Today brought to you by Jim Beam, the official bourbon of the Minnesota Wild. Canada beat Sweden 4-3 in overtime in the opening game of the Four Nations Face-Off last night in Montreal. Mitch Marner beat Wild goaltender Philip Gustafsson 6:06 into the extra session to secure the win for the Canadians. Sidney Crosby had 3 assists. For the Swedes, both Wild defensemen Jonas Brodin and center Joel Eriksson scored goals. Tonight, Brock Faber and Matt Boldy and Team USA will take on Finland. That game starts at 7 p.m. That was Wild Today, brought to you by Jim Beam, a crowd pleaser since 1795. Country sensation Hardy is bringing the Jim Bob World Tour to Somerset Amphitheater. Catch him when he takes the stage August 16th with special guests Co Wetzel, Stephen Wilson Jr., and Sicarus. Tickets go on sale Friday at 10 a.m. Get all the details now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Did you get your Valentine's Day gift bag from Emily? It's right out there on the table. They're out there on the table, yeah. Well, there's several. Looks like there's a handful of them for everybody on the air staff. I took meat sauces. He doesn't need it. No, I took my own. It's very nice. Happy Valentine's Day, iHeartMedia. Looks like there's some chocolates, some assorted sweethearts, and lots of other good stuff. So there's one there for you, Teneby.
That's very kind.
But before we do go any further, let's go further. Let's go ahead and do, it's the Preposterous Statement Tournament. Triple V, double I. This is our results and pairings for today. Teneby, I know we like to do, are we doing this every day where we're going to do nominees for PST?
As long as we have them, yes.
Okay, well, go ahead. I have one here. Can you go ahead and hit that?
PST VVV III nominee.
This one says, consider this. Yesterday on Bumper to Bumper, verbiage was being thrown around, and Guardsy was supporting the notion that incorrect planing or deplaning of passengers onto commercial aircraft could cause the plane to tip. So I trust Grok. Here's what Grok says. Improper deplaning of passengers from a commercial aircraft could theoretically contribute to an imbalance, but causing an aircraft to tip over is highly unlikely under normal circumstances, and here's why. Aircraft design. Commercial aircraft are designed with stability in mind. They have a low center of gravity and a wide base for stability. The weight distribution is calculated to ensure that even with passengers moving around, the plane remains stable. Weight distribution. During boarding and deplaning, passengers are generally spread out across the cabin. Even if there's a concentration of people moving to one side, the aircraft's design accounts for dynamic weight shifts. Operational procedures. Airlines have procedures in place for both boarding and deplaning to manage passenger flow. These are designed to prevent overcrowding or sudden shifts in weight on one side of the plane. And finally, ground support. When parked, aircraft are often connected to ground equipment or have their own stabilization systems like wheel chocks. This helps prevent any movement or tipping. So don't let the deplaning terrorists frighten you, the JGs of the world. If everybody moves to one side of the plane, it's not going to topple over. So there you go. But if it does tend to be, in case there's a loss of cabin pressure, take their mask, put yours on your face first, and then put it on the youngsters next to you.
We got one more.
Oh, we do.
PST VVV III nominee.
Now, this was actually nominated January 15th, but the committee just got aware of it yesterday. This is Meat Sauce on the Power Trip Morning Show.
I already like it.
I knew Deion Sanders was polarizing. I didn't know he was this polarizing.
I don't think you hire Deion if you're Jerry Jones, because then it isn't about you. It's about Deion. Deion is one of the most polarizing people that's ever been on this earth. He's very good at... Well, what? That's ever been on the earth? I don't think...
He said Deion's one of the most polarizing people that's ever been on the earth.
I think it's Milky Way. I don't think he went far enough. There are people on Mars that aren't as polarizing as him.
No.
Now, if he's the most polarizing person, is he more polarizing on the North Pole or the South Pole? That's what I'd like to ask Meat Sauce.
You ready for some results?
Absolutely.
And then we'll release some pairings.
North Region, presented by Arthur's Jewelers.
The number 16 seed, Mark Rosen, said, quote, I spent way too much on Timberwolves tickets this year. He went up against the number 17 seed, Parker Fox, who said, going to watch an NBA Summer League game is on his bucket list. Well, maybe winning a Preposterous Statement Tournament Championship is no longer on his bucket list, because Mark Rosen, with a pretty decisive victory here, 71 to 29%.
Only 71 to 29?
That's a pretty...
Yeah, what's our biggest? Do you have any ideas as statistician?
96-ish. 96 to 4, probably, in that range.
This should have been 96 to 4, but it isn't, so move on.
West Region.
Say-in matchup in the West Region, the number 16 seed Brian Oak said, even if Sexy Back were the only song Timbaland ever co-wrote, he would still be worthy of inclusion in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. He went up against the number 17 seed, Kalen Kaler, who said, this is going to sound crazy, but the Bears need to think crazy. They should trade for Kevin O'Connell. Caleb and KOC love each other. I don't know if the Vikings would ever part with him, but Chicago should at least try. Added bonus, I believe his agent is Trace Armstrong. Brian Oak advances. He wins 69 to 31%.
Oak on the water. Preposterousness in the sky. Very good. Congratulations, Oak.
East Region.
The say-in matchup in the East Region, number 16 seed D'Angelo Russell said, quote, hell of a year by D'Angelo, humbly saying that. He went up against the number 17 seed Greg Olson, who said, a 2nd and 10 is the same as a 1st and 10. Greg Olson advances 56 to 44%. He takes down the very humble D'Angelo Russell.
As much as I like Greg, I don't know what happened there. That seems, there's a difference. It's the same amount of yards, but you're on 2nd down, not 1st down. They're not the same. Then all of a sudden, they would just play football where you start on 2nd down if it was just the same. So, congratulations to Greg Olson.
South Region.
The final say-in matchup in the South Region, the number 16 seed Eric Nordquist said that Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison is a better duo than Randy Moss and Chris Carter. He went up against the number 17 seed Mark Rosen, who, talking about that Mavericks-Warriors game back on November 12th, said, quote, "It had the drama of Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. 2 fan personalities battling it out. Only one can advance to the first round. That would be from 9 to noon. Eric Nordquist, he wins 60 to 40%. Nordo advances."
Yeah, I would say that statement was almost breathtaking, and it's preposterous. And when you first hear it or see it, it takes your breath away. You go, so yeah, congratulations to Nordo.
So those are our results. Let's now move on to our first round matchups that you'll be able to vote on shortly on the KFAN Twitter account on X and Twitter at KFAN1003.
North Region, presented by Arthur's Jewelers.
The number 1 seed, Anthony Rendon, on playing in the major league, said, quote, "I do not wish this life upon anybody." He'll go up against the number 16 seed, Mark Rosen, who said, quote, "I spent way too much on Timberwolves tickets this last year."
Now, Tammy, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If you would have said, Tennessee was entered for saying, regarding being the bridge producer of the Common Man program, I wouldn't wish this on anybody.
That makes sense.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
There would be no preposterousness there. People would go, why would you nominate that? That's pure craziness. But the first preposterous statement you read is very preposterous. Of course, you got Rose, and it's a great matchup. I love it.
It's a tough matchup for a 1 seed, though.
It is.
To take on Rosie.
Very much so.
North Region, presented by Arthur's Jewelers.
Number 8 seed is Cam Bynum, who said, quote, "I thought Ray Gunn's Olympic performance was really good." He'll go up against the number 9 seed, Andrew Patterson of Winnipeg Sports Talk. It's Winnipeg Sports Talk. Talking in Winnipeg. After the Minnesota Wild announced a whiteout promotion for a regular season game, here's what Patterson had to say.
Can we talk about the Minnesota Wild putting out today the promotion of the whiteout?
Out.
How the hell does the Jets' biggest rivals feel it is appropriate or kosher to do a whiteout promotion, which is the signature playoff promotion of the Winnipeg Jets? As we tweeted out, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
No, it's not.
But you got to be kidding me. The Wild doing the Jets playoff promo in the regular season? What the hell is going on?
You know what, I'll tell you. It's a controversial radio show, too. I don't even know if I can listen to that. I mean, that's one of those things, if your kids are in the car, you turn it off. That's controversial.
Yeah.
That's a controversial topic.
Whiteout's only done in Winnipeg, apparently.
And I would be offended by it, absolutely, positively.
North Region, presented by Arthur's Jewelers.
The number 4 seed Oklahoma State head coach Mike Gundy, after running back Ollie Gordon II was arrested for DUI, he said, quote, "He's going to play. I'm going to do what we think is best for Oklahoma State football, and I think it's best for Ollie to play. If there's any punishment, it's making him carry the ball 50 times in the first game." He'll go up against the number 13 seed Paul Charchian, who tweeted, "For 6 years, Kirk haters have breathlessly exclaimed that it's impossible to win with a quarterback on an expensive contract. Yesterday, the Chiefs hoisted the Lombardi with the highest paid player in the league." Not quite the same comparison there when you're thinking Mahomes to Cousins.
Well,
but
maybe, you don't know.
By the way, I mentioned you off air, and we'll find out. We'll hear it later when that charge statement is eligible. But we have secured the audio of his Saquon Barkley is cooked preposterous statement.
And you know what? I probably shouldn't admit this to you, but I rip you and your effort a lot of times. But for you to go and dig that up, to go search for that audio, I got to hand it to you, Tennessee. I was wrong. You really went above and beyond Call of Duty to get that audio.
That was actually former intern guy Eric Tebow. But But I asked him on the air to find it. He's always been my guy at finding those things in podcasts.
I take back everything I just said about you. What I previously said about you, I don't take back, I put back, whatever you want to call it.
I did put the effort to put it into the system, though.
But you know
what? I loaded it into the system.
Tough love covenant snaps for that. Good job.
North Region, presented by Arthur's Jewelers.
Number 5 seed Jim Edmonds. Here's what he said about tipping pitches.
I think that's interesting if you tip your pitches. You're a Caucasian man with a white baseball and you have a black glove. I think the black glove really does the injustice because you can see all the little movements. You can see the baseball, you can see the hand, you can see the flare against your white jersey. Let me just tell you, from a guy who that's all I paid attention to, I probably would go to a tan baseball glove if I was worried about it.
A couple of things. How sad is it that he spent his whole life paying attention to that? That's what he basically said. He goes, for a guy I've spent every waking moment paying attention to tipping the ball. First of all, that's the saddest part of it. Second is, I'd like to know at what stage of the season this was, because we talked about this just the other day. 162 game schedule, and you're the play-by-play / or you're the analyst guy.
Yeah.
You just start running out of things to say, and so then sometimes you almost feel bad for him and go, well, yeah, I know it's preposterous, but he's numb from watching all these games and not knowing what to say. I'm not even sure what he was trying to get to. I just know it's preposterous.
I was going to ask you a question.
Okay.
When you were holding a baseball glove up and you have your hand in the glove with your hand on the ball.
Yeah.
Regardless of the color of the glove, you can't see in the glove.
Well, that's true, too.
Right, I guess there's some gloves where you might have holes in the webbing. There's not a pitcher in baseball that is using a glove with, holes in the webbing. It's all mostly covered up. You cannot see through the glove, so it doesn't matter what color the glove is.
Let me ask you a question, then. Have you spent your whole life studying this?
No, it's just...
He did!
It's just common sense.
He spent his whole life studying this, Kennedy, until you're in his shoes.
Well, Jim's going to go up against the number 12 seed, Meat Sauce, who said, quote, "I'm too impatient for fast food."
That's a really good line for a stand-up routine. He should add that. I kind of like that line.
North Region, presented by Arthur's Jewelers.
The number 6 seed, Greg Rosenthal, tweeted, "You can't tell the history of football without him is so flawed as a Hall of Fame argument because Kirk Cousins is one of the most pivotal figures of the last 13 years. Rosenthal will go up against the number 11 seed, Joe Nelson. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but he basically, before the season, said that the Wolves are the deepest team ever.
The Rosenthal, did you say it was Rosenthal?
Greg Rosenthal,
Greg Rosenthal. Pivotal, I don't think is the right word. I mean, you could say one of the more, what's the word
Polarizing?
Polarizing maybe would be better, because we've talked about this. The guy made a boatload of money, probably more. He and his agent should teach a master class. They should have in college on how to maximize your potential, your earnings with... I mean, we've talked about it forever with Cousins. He's got talent. He can spin it, but there's just something there, and I'm not sure it's the it factor, whatever. So, and that makes you Hall of Fame, because that's basically what you're saying, is because of his polarizing nature.
Yeah.
He should be in the Hall of Fame. Numbers are good, but you gotta have more than a what does PA always say, a box score? You got to be more than a big box score, and so that's why it's in the preposterous statement tournament, because it's simply preposterous.
North Region,
the number
presented
3
by Arthur's Jewelers.
The number 3 seed is Eventbrite on Meat Sauce's comedy. Quote, "His stand-up comedy is a natural extension of his persona and has been compared to many of the pioneers of comedy."
A lot of people are saying.
Eventbrite will go up against number 14 seed Michael Irvin, who thinks everyone loves and respects Jake Paul.
Because this felt like Mike's house. The crowd went crazy.
Yeah, and everybody loves Mike, but everybody loves to respect Jake also for what he's done here.
Don't think Michael's going to have much of a chance in this one.
Yikes.
North Region, presented by Arthur's Jewelers.
The number 7 seed is Parker Fox. Here's what he said about Caitlin Clark.
She's so special. I think she's obviously special for the women's game, but I think she's special for basketball in general. I was actually having an argument with somebody the other day. When I see the color yellow now, it's kind of changed what I look at the color yellow because of Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Really? GPA? Really?
Oh.
That's so good. Parker's going to go up against the number 10 seed Justin Gard.
When I think yellow, I think like banana.
Yeah.
Maybe the sun, because it looks a little yellow. I've never thought of the Iowa Hawkeyes.
I think of a yellow submarine.
Yeah, but I've never thought of Caitlin Clark.
No.
Of course, I don't play basketball like Parker does, so maybe that had something to do with it.
Parker will go up against the number 10 seed Justin Gard, who on the Timberwolves said, quote, even if they win the title, I'm going to be bummed because I just like watching them play. Going to be bummed if they win a title.
I still don't even understand that. Why would he be bummed if they win a title? Because then the season's over and he can't watch them play anymore?
You can't keep watching them because it'll be an off-season, but it's going to you shouldn't be bummed about your team winning in the whole thing.
And that was JG, right?
That was JG, yeah.
Who also says if you move too many passengers to one side of a commercial aircraft, it'll tip over. So I guess that explains a lot. Is that it? Is that
no, we got one more.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
North Region, presented by Arthur's Jewelers.
The number 2 seed is Myles Garrett. He defended his quarterback, Deshaun Watson, and criticized those who booed him after he was injured, saying this.
Man does pretty much everything right. He's been a model citizen through college and most of the pros.
Myles will go up against the number 15 seed Taylor Gooch after missing out on a Masters invitation. Said, quote, if Rory McIlroy goes and competes and completes the Grand Slam without some of the best players in the world, there's just going to be an asterisk. It's just the reality.
That's all it is. It's reality. And there you go.
That's it.
There's your PST.
We'll vote on him shortly.
Basically, first round. We don't consider the play-in round a first round. The play-in round is over, and that's your first round. We'll be back again tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, do we not do it at all, or we do it at a different time?
Usually on Fridays, we did it at like 12:30 last year, so we can do it at 12:30.
At 12:30 tomorrow, we will do our phosphorus statement tournament results and pairings, and we look forward to that. Mark Rosen awaiting in the wings. One last thing, Tennessee, I want to get to. Before we break in, welcome Mark Rosen into the 651 Carpets Plus climate-controlled studios. I spent a lot of time watching the Rockford Files evenings on Get TV, great entertainment television, back-to-back episodes, 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock. It takes me until 9 o'clock. I've backed off a little because I don't remember when I first started watching the Rockford Files on a regular basis, but it's been well over a year. I think year and a half, maybe 2 years. So even me after a while, the repetitive nature of anything starts to bug me after a while. Welcome to noon to 3, we call it. Rewind Radio. And I don't spend a lot of time watching sports. Sports is your whole life, just sports. But I think tonight, Tennessee, I might watch myself some college basketball. Auburn versus.
I thought you were going to talk about USA versus Finland in the Four Nations face-off.
No. Number 1 Auburn versus number 2 Alabama in men's college basketball.
Nice.
Number 1 taking on number 2. I don't know how often that happens. So I'm sure somebody could. Somebody could do the research and find out. I know this story mentioned a couple of legendary number 1s against number 2, but number 1, Auburn. It's a bus ride, Tennessee. They don't take a plane. It's 2 hours, 45-minute bus ride. I checked it on Google Maps. This is the 171st meeting between Auburn and Alabama. Let's just say the Crimson Tide has rolled in most occasions. They own the series, 102 wins against 68 losses. And, generally speaking, this is football, right? I mean, it's football country, Alabama and Auburn. They're that rivalry, last game of the season every year. And I think I might watch myself some college hoops tonight. I like number 1 against number 2. And they call Alabama the Crimson Tide, and they call me Deacon Blue. So that will probably be my choice. I don't think we'll break it down tomorrow, but that looks like it might be a real nice matchup. Let's take our break. We'll come back. The legendary Mark Rosen, the walking, talking, preposterous statement will join us next here on the Common Man program on the Fan.